just listen to Professor Vaidyanathan, because if it's a point-by-point rebuttal that he wants to give to that specific challenge that has been given by Sanjay Jha. Yes, Professor Vaidyanathan.
This body is, Padmaja, this body is totally different than Planning Commission is, I want to stress. It is not only focusing on economy and economy-related matters. If you go through the complete agenda, which I have got with me, it is one of those holistic panel which focuses on geostrategic issues, security issues, commerce, foreign affairs. It is trying to integrate all of these and then try to evolve a policy for the future. And where the chief ministers also will play a role. This is something I think which is not comprehended by many people. It is not just studying some economic models and trying to allocate resources. That's one of the issues. But more important is this geostrategic attitude towards evolving global situation and how India's response to these global situations should be in conjunction with the state chief ministers. I think this is something extraordinary and dramatic. If it works, it's going to change the contours of the country.
Well, let's get Dr. Mehrotra in on that also, because one of the points that was made earlier, which I'd like to come back to now, is this secretariat, where you're not just going to be appointing, intellectuals, but you're going to be appointing industry experts into this secretariat, bringing their domain expertise, and that seems to be something which works, like Professor Vaidyanathan was saying, which works towards a progressive model.
That is right, but let's see if that is exactly what happens. It should not be just industry experts. It should be people who are health experts, because we are not doing very well on our health or nutrition or sanitation outcomes. We also need education experts. We need skills experts.
Consumer protection, consumer awareness.
Industry experts, no question about it. Well, a very important thing is that in each of these areas...
Consumer protection.
Well, that can be captured under other heads. You can't have just one member looking after consumer protection, with all due respect. If I may finish, sir. Sir, if I may finish, I did not interrupt you. Sorry, I did not interrupt you, sir. Padmaja, can you please ask this gentleman to calm down,
sir, go ahead.
so that I may finish my argument? Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. It's absolutely critical that not just people who are the members, who are the sort of Minister of State rank people who are domain experts. They were always domain experts. You need domain experts below them, right through down to the lower level. Without that, you cannot bring in good expertise from outside, because one of the roles that the new government has been talking about for this NITI Aayog is that it will be a knowledge hub. Well, to create a knowledge hub within the NITI Aayog, you need people who are knowledgeable themselves, right down to within the sector, within a division, who can then bring in expertise from outside. This is a very important role, in addition to the role that Dr. Vaidyanathan was talking about. There's another important role which I would like to hear Mr. Aman Sinha actually talk about, is whether it will have a strategic coordination function. For instance, in China, the National Development Reforms Commission, after China became a market economy, this was the new name of the erstwhile Planning Commission, it became a more powerful body than the erstwhile Planning Commission. Are we planning to make this body a more powerful body in the following sense? Will it be able to carry out strategic coordination, for instance, within the transport sector, within the health sector, within the energy sector? That's the role the Chinese Planning Commission, the NDRC, plays. That's the role that
Aman Sinha, would you like to respond to that?
Line ministries are not able to coordinate, and this country is a very large and complex country. Yes, cooperative federalism is going to be very important in this coordination function, but sectoral coordination must be carried out by someone. Committees of secretaries of line ministries at the central government level haven't worked. That procedure and that mechanism hasn't worked. So, Mr. Aman Sinha,
is the NITI Aayog going to be structured in that way, Aman Sinha?
Yeah, and just to add to that, Aman Sinha, before you respond, the key question is, what role is NITI Aayog going to have in resource allocation? Because that's what it comes down to. That's the crux of the issue.
That's a very good question. Very good question.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me assure you that on all these three counts, NITI Aayog, the way it is envisaged, it addresses all these three issues. Firstly, They are going to be, they are going to be domain experts. They are going to be specialists. They will not be whole-time members, but they will be special invitees. And for each and every, specified area, we will have a special, invitees panel who are experts in that field. So that issue has been taken care of. Secondly, as my friend was rightly pointing out, there are several, issues in any, developmental journey which crop up, several impediments which crop up. And, it is one of the objects of the NITI Aayog that it will ensure that all these impediments are removed from, having better coordination, not only between center and state, but also, interdepartmental, interministerial coordination. It will be duty and responsibility of NITI Aayog to ensure that all these impediments are removed in a time-bound manner. And obviously, as far as resource allocation is concerned, after, consulting all the stakeholders, all the states, all the chief ministers and all the expert bodies and all the domain experts, NITI Aayog will come to a conclusion, and, thereafter, it will be approved in that very manner only.
Okay, so it's clear that we need to wait and watch and see how this works. And I think that the opinion is also unanimous here that the Planning Commission was not working. So we come back to Sanjay Jha. You were talking about the fact that it wasn't a consultative process. One second, Sanjay Jha, you talked about the fact that it was announced in August, by the Prime Minister without consulting anyone. But the fact is that there was consultation. In fact, the Prime Minister opened a platform on online platform inviting suggestions, and also held a meeting of Chief Ministers in December to try and get that consultation coming in. Why do you then say it was not a consultative process?
You know something, Tina, I think we have acknowledged already on your channel that, our UPA government and the Planning Commission former members were very transparent in their articulation that the Planning Commission did need to go through a restructuring, or in terms of a certain operational changes in terms of the way the relationship with the states are. But what you found absolutely astounding was that the Prime Minister, can I speak? I'm speaking to the anchor, I'm speaking to the anchor, not you. The question is, according to this Prime Minister, this Prime Minister and this government has been absolutely past masters in rebranding.
He's Prime Minister of the country.
So, no, but Sanjay, just straight question from Aman Sinha coming there. Please answer that. Answer that. The fact is you're agreeing that the Planning Commission was not working. So then where is the problem in replacing it? So straight question coming from Aman Sinha. Where's the problem in replacing it when you're accepting that every single person, even among your leadership, agreed that it was not working?
Well, let me tell you, I give you a very appropriate analogy. I said, if you got a headache, do you take a pill or do you cut the head off? That is Mr. Modi's panacea, unfortunately.
No, but they're rehauling it. It would be cutting the head off, just taking your analogy a little further, stretching a little further. To restructure it would be taking a pill.
Sorry to say, Mr. Jha, nobody agrees with your analogy, not even your own chief ministers.
The Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission.
You have already given a wrong example and a wrong analogy. Now you are adding up to your woes by giving another wrong example.
Happening all the time. This government has used a Jan Dhan Yojana. Everything is nothing but a repackaging, remarketing, a complete photo shoot thing that Mr. Modi is doing. But you don't mess around with the Planning Commission.
Which you think was needed. Which you agree was needed.
Why are you opposing?
If they are repackaging and fixing the problems, which your leaders acknowledge, why the opposition?
So you are opposing just for heck of opposing? No, Mr. Sanjay Jha arguments exposes that he is opposing just for heck of opposing.
Mr. Sinha, can you tell me what is the poverty level in India today compared to what it was in 1947? Do you know the answer? It was 90%, then is 22%
That
now.
Is what your Planning Commission has been doing absolutely wrong.
India's GDP growth rate,
just consider the kind of figures
over
of
the last
poverty
10
line
years
that they were coming up with.
Over 7.5%.
Is this not a shame? Is this not an illustration of the fact that Planning Commission needed to go?
The Planning Commission may have certain
and still Mr. Jha is, holding up.
May have needed to work
he's giving all the, glorious arguments in favor of Planning Commission.
But you have decided to drop it because
Mr. Jha has not even been able to clarify whether he is opposing the restructuring and replacing of Planning Commission or he is
No, but you're coming across as a little confused. Your arguments are a little confusing. Earlier you said there are lacunae. Then you're saying why are they doing away with those problems? If they're restructuring something, then why are you opposing it? When you yourself acknowledge, Sanjay Jha, that there were problems, as your other leaders have also admitted, what's the problem in a rehaul?
No. I'm telling you, it's very simple. If I have to replace a battery, do I sell my entire mobile phone? Can you give me an answer to that? I replace the battery. I try and improvise whatever the problem may be. So the fundamental question is, if for example, could India have grown in the UPA time?
But Sanjay Jha, just going by that analogy, Sanjay, it wasn't the battery that was not working. You just accepted yourself it was the mobile phone itself that was not working. Dr. Bejon Misra. Now Sanjay Jha says that the Planning Commission did work in terms of poverty alleviation. He's giving us figures saying, yes, it worked.
No.
What would you say to that?
It did. He's giving. He's
the operational functioning.
He's misleading. Hello.
But the GDP growth rate was 8% over 10 years under the UPA government. Poverty came down by 140 million people went above the poverty line. You think the Planning Commission was functional? I mean, that's a ridiculous argument.
Dr. Misra.
Sanjay doesn't know.
What are you saying?
Sanjay doesn't know. Sanjay doesn't know. In the year 2000. Please let me speak. In the year 2000, India became a signatory to the Millennium Development Goal, where they agreed that in 15 years, they will halve the poverty level from 2010 to 2015. Have they been able to, from 2000 to 2015, have they been able to do that? They have not been able to do that. They have not been able to bring down the poverty level even by 10%. What is you're talking about half? So my contention is, you see, Sanjay should admit
poverty levels
that the government has failed. The government has failed. The government has failed. You see, it was 30%. It was 30% in 2000. It has come down to 27%. You have not been able to half it in 15 years. So what are you talking about? So let me tell you, they don't allow the parliament to function. They don't allow processes to come forward. You see, let committee report, you don't disturb
from 37% the poverty went down.
When I'm speaking, you're not supposed to be talking. When I'm speaking, you're not supposed to be talking.
Can you?
You're not supposed to be talking. Please listen to me. You please keep quiet for 2 minutes. What I want to tell your viewers is that there was a great need for reforms. The reforms had to come. The writing was on the wall. What we all wanted to understand now is that to make sure that the government becomes citizen-driven, becomes patient-driven, as somebody said in the panel. Healthcare needs complete overhauling in our country. We have to make sure that every
patient... And in fact, before you respond to that, Sanjay Jha, Professor Mehrotra also wants to add to that question. Professor Mehrotra.
Sure.
No, it's very important that health, nutrition and sanitation, these receive the kind of priority that in a sense was not being given in the past. After all, health expenditure barely rose under the UPA. It's still at barely 1.1% of GDP. You know, we're at the lowest. Now, therefore, it's absolutely critical that this morning's papers gave great news that there is a new national policy for 2015 in the health sector. We hope that one of the objectives of this national health policy, I've been reading the health policy today, it looks impressive, but it's absolutely critical that public expenditure on health goes up, and goes up in a strategic manner, in a coordinated manner, so that the Swachh Bharat and the nutritional interventions are integrated. If they are not integrated, health interventions alone will not have the impact that we are looking for. And we are one of the sort of worst in the world as far as nutrition is concerned. We are one of the worst in the world as far as sanitation is concerned.
So as Bejon Misra and Professor Mehrotra were saying, Sanjay Jha, right now it seems a more holistic view is being taken as far as the development goals are concerned, as far as the NITI Aayog is concerned, as the basic plan of the NITI Aayog as is visible to us right now. Is the Congress getting a little nervous that this plan may just get the Modi government a lot of plaudits across the board, and which is why this is something that you simply cannot take lying down?
Well, I will repeat what I think Manish Tiwari said earlier during the day, this government is doing nothing but a lot of cosmetic and synthetic tokenism. Let me tell you the truth, and I challenge anybody to actually refute these figures. It is an issue that, yes, the Planning Commission has to adapt with the times. Nobody's denied it. I'm being upfront with you on your channel. So your viewers will know that we are being very transparent about it. All we are talking about is, would India have grown at around 7.5, 1 minute, would India have grown at close to 8% GDP in 10 years under UPA if the Planning Commission was dysfunctional? Would 150 million people come below the poverty line, above the poverty line?
Sanjay Jha, you're saying that there was an overhaul.
No, 1 minute.
And then you're trying to say that the Planning Commission did its job. If you think the Planning Aman Sinha, respond to that. If the Planning Commission was doing its job, why does the Congress agree that it needed an overhaul in the first place?
Well, just to improve certain operational efficiency.
Which is what they're doing.
Needed greater degree of independence. But what? Let me tell you, all you have heard.
Sanjay, let Aman Sinha respond.
Aman Sinha.
Really? Okay. And it had outlived its utility long back. Now, if we are envisaging a vibrant modern think tank for the country, which will, have inputs and expertise of all the domain experts, which is going to enhance the spirit of cooperative federalism, which is going to speeden and hasten up the developmental projects and its implementation. What is the difficulty that my friends of Congress?
It smells a little of sour grapes, Sanjay Jha, to be honest.
I just do not understand it. In fact,
it's seeming a little bit like sour grapes. Professor Vaidyanathan, would you agree? Is it a case of sour grapes?
What is it that
I want to point out?
They are merely giving self-contradictory arguments, and they are arguing both ways.
BJP talks of federalism. Every time BJP talks of federalism, I have to choke, and I'm literally choking, because this is the same party which opposed
we do not merely talk, we act. It reflects in our actions.
On the issue of
and
federalism.
Please see,
so let's not even talk about
Chief Ministers were members of the Planning Commission earlier.
You haven't answered my question.
They are members of the government.
Where are you going to be different?
Sanjay Jha, just a second. Just a second.
That Congress Chief Ministers were standing with Bejon.
Just a second. Catch your breath while Professor Vaidyanathan also wants to make a point. Yes, Professor Vaidyanathan.
Padmaja, this is the first time a body is going to look at the evolving global situation. I think these facts are not being adequately focused. If you look at the entire domain picture, which I have got with me, this is going to look at the evolving global situation, and it's a very, very complex situation in the world today.
But is this opposition to the whole idea of NITI Aayog seem like a case of sour grapes to you, Professor Vaidyanathan?
No, after all, I would not blame anybody in the opposition, because their role is just to oppose. That's what they are in for there. They would like to.
But is the opposition to the NITI Aayog just for the sake of opposition, or do they have an argument?
No, my only point is they should have certain grace in accepting certain deficiencies which are getting rectified, and wait for it. After all, somebody correctly pointed out, proof of the pudding is in the eating. Wait for a couple of months, wait perhaps for a year or so, and then say that this is what it has been constituted and it has not delivered. Instead of on day one itself, if you say that, this whole thing
is, exactly, day one. Day one, that's the opposition has come in on day one. Aman Sinha, is the Congress opposing this NITI Aayog only for the sake of opposition?
It's not just the Congress party. All opposition parties have criticized it. It's not just the Congress party. I think you need to clarify that.
Evident from their action.
All parties other than the BJP have contested this.
Was that it was created by Mr. Nehru. Now, can that be a cogent argument really? If if every institution has to evolve with times. If it had failed to address its objective,
we all know the pathological
this institution was changed.
That
in fact, it had outlived its utility long back, and the Congress party was only interested in giving jobs to its cronies, and therefore it just languished for some more time.
Absolutely, deeply distrustful of anything that.
No, Mr. Sanjay Jha has not even clarified whether he is opposing the restructuring of Planning Commission and replacing it by.
But Sanjay, is that your main exception to it?
What is it? What is it?
Is that your main exception to this, Sanjay Jha? The fact that it is breaking down a Nehruvian institution is because that's the point you keep coming back to.
And is it just? Is it a just argument?
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you something. The economic rationale was something that could have been sorted out within the existing
Then everything should be frozen. It should come to a standstill. From 1950,
fact that you had
nothing
the
should
Prime
evolve with
Minister
time.
make a unilateral statement.
Even Mahatma Gandhi said that, you know, things have to evolve with time.
From the ramparts of the Red Fort,
you are disagreeing with him?
without consulting the state governments, tells you that this was a political statement as well. And if you had to look at the economic issues of how...
But the chief ministers were consulted. They were called for a meeting.
That could have been done within.
No,
well, all the
Mr. Sanjay Jha in one breath says that Congress party was also supporting the replacing of planning commission and, you know,
and Bejon Misra, the question also is, if Sanjay Jha, like he's admitting and a lot of his other Congress party leaders have, if there were flaws, what was stopping them from fixing those flaws all this while? What were they waiting for?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
I don't understand. He's talking about federalism.
Let me answer you.
He doesn't know. Sanjay doesn't know.
Let me answer
Sanjay
you.
doesn't.
There is
Sanjay doesn't know. Sanjay doesn't know.
Also a National Development Council. And by the way, discussions don't happen only in an NDC meeting.
People resign.
Meet chief minister.
People resign from NDC.
Bureaucrats at different times.
How many times did the NDC meet?
Representatives resigned from NDC. The civil society representatives resigned from NDC. Sanjay doesn't know about that, it seems. You see, what we need to understand is, from the time the new government has come in, please, let me finish. From the time the new government has come in, let me tell you my personal perception. It has been in a consultative process. They have constituted several interministerial groups which are now looking at issues like, for example, my domain is on consumer protection and consumer awareness. For the first time, this government has constituted an interministerial group to look at consumer protection or consumer welfare or citizen-centric policies within various ministries, cutting across various ministries. First time it has happened. And I must congratulate this government for doing that. What we all want to see is that all this what is being done, will it keep up to its promise? Will it be able to deliver? Because we are interested in such institutions which can deliver, which can make the poor come out of poverty. We want to see such institutions who can generate employment. We want to see such institutions which will bring balance, regional balances within the states. Today there is so much of difference between one state and the other state in terms of development. And you want to tell me that the chief ministers don't want it? All the chief ministers want it. They have all agreed.
Okay, Sanjay, before we give you the last word, there have been a lot of charges, a lot of points that have been made by our panelists. Before we give you the last word, I also want to go across to Mr. Mohan Guruswamy. So what do you think will be the major challenges? Because already they are facing stiff opposition from all the non-BJP parties. What do you think that the NITI Aayog really needs to do to prove that this was an idea, it was something worth doing, the entire rehaul was worth it?
You know, I think all the chief ministers will be very happy to get rid of this monkey off their back, because the planning commission has become too overbearing and it needed to go in its present form. But doesn't mean that there's no role for planning. There will be planning in the country. Planning is going to get more decentralized. It's going to go to the ministries. It's going to shift to the states. But one concern I have, and there must be some mechanism to address this, is that the poorer states, states like Bihar, which have very low development expenditure, per capita development expenditure, states which have high per capita expenditure, there has to be some basis of allocating funds to these states. If the Finance Commission is going to do this, to give them additional funds so that they can spend more money on development, it will be a good thing. But it is not correct for the Planning Commission to do the allocation of resources. Planning Commission should be now more concerned with flagging off concerns and telling the government that this is an area of concern, this is where we're falling behind. And so this is a good change. I think we should give it time. But to say that,
Sanjay Jha, we'll come back to you for closing comments, because, it's a very simple question. The fact is it too early to complain? And why would you disagree if we say, and as many of our panelists have said, that the proof of the pudding is in the eating? Why not just wait and see if this NITI Aayog works and then come up with some opposition to it if you have valid reasons to?
Correct. Very correct.
Well, firstly, let me clear a big misconception. Let me clear a big misconception that the Planning Commission was the one which was making the allocation of funds very independently. In fact, the ministries, the relevant ministries have been taking the final call on that. Number two, one of the key challenges...
The ministries, not the states, Sanjay Jha. The ministries, that's the point.
That needed...
The problem was with the design of the programs.
Can I speak?
The design of the programs was very centralized.
No.
I thought you were going to give me some uninterrupted
Padmaja,
time.
you need better planning
anyway, the point I'm
of
making
time
is
on this panel.
Centrally sponsored schemes do require a greater degree of monitoring. And somebody said a think tank. Well, you know, let me tell you, the Planning Commission, existing Planning Commission that we had some excellent experts from different fields of academics or economists and consultants. And you had a lot of experts from civil society.
Only the members,
so I don't
not
think there's
below
any
that.
difference
I'm
there.
sorry.
And the last point,
only the favorites of the government. Only the favorites of the government.
1 minute, and the last point is, the Planning Commission was never a regulatory authority by itself at all. It was an advisory capacity. It had a role to play as a research body for all the states put together.
Which the states always resented. Which the states always resented.
Would have to
Sanjay, you've accepted on this show even tonight that the Planning Commission was not working, and therefore we come back to the main question, which is, if this government has done which your previous government said was needed, then why are you complaining? On that note, gentlemen, we are going to thank you all for joining us on the first debate tonight. We are sorry, we are completely out of time on the first debate. Thank you very much.